Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. You guys, our team builder here for the NPA. The Minnesota Vikavolts are taking on the Seattle Staraptors and coach Gearhart in this epic matchup. If you missed last week's match, it went down against two of the top teams, the Vikavolts versus the Rapidash, Moonlight Swami, and we were able to come out with a W, winning the Weather War with 9 tails, Infernape picking up 4 kills and just putting in some work. But this week we got to take on Gearhart, and he's one of our division rivals. He's fighting for a playoff spot at this current time. Luckily for us, we have already secured our playoff spot, which is pretty sweet, and we're just basically fighting for a first round bye now. We pretty much have to win one of our next 2 games, and I believe we lock up the bye, but I'm aiming to win both of them, so Gearhart is our first opponent in that stretch, and let's make it happen. Now, this match was supposed to happen a few weeks ago, but we had a bye week. Instead, we switched our bye weeks around because Gearhart had some technical difficulties setting up his DS, whatever else, but we should be good to go now, so I had already prepared for this, but we're good to go. So let's take a look at Gearhart's team, kind of run that down. We'll talk about our team. You can see the matchup on the screen, and we'll go from there. So we can see on Gearhart's team, he's got a Sylveon, which is a very bulky fairy type Pokemon. Could be really scary if he decides to go with like a Choice Specs variant where it's just like super offensive. He's got a Mamoswine, which has an incredible dual stab coverage with Earthquake and Icicle Crash or Ice and Ground type coverage. Serena, which has a good, good attack stat, pretty average bulk, and it can be his Rapid Spinner. Also can do a lot of things like U-turn, Synthesis, stuff like that. He's got the Mantine, of course, very, very bulky Pokemon, especially on the special side of things, and did get a buff this generation, gets Roost and Defog, and can also remove hazards, which aren't really a core focus of our strategy this week. He's got the Bronzong, which is a Pokemon that I've always really liked. Really reliable Stealth Rock setter, and that's still Psychic typing can be really difficult since it has 2 good abilities in Levitate and Heat Proof. So we got to be careful there. He's got the Electrode, very, very fast Pokemon. Electrode hits 150 speed, man, which of course obviously outspeeds the entirety of our team. Very difficult for us to deal with. He's got a Mega Sharpedo, which you look at Mega Sharpedo, and sorry, you might not think it's that crazy, but because it doesn't have the speed boost ability, it has to basically Mega Evolve in the first turn. But Strong Jaw, Crunch, Psychic Fangs, Ice Fang, Waterfall, those moves hit really, really hard against my team. So we do have to be pretty cautious about how we deal with that Sharpedo there, especially since it could boost up on us, and it can be very, very scary, especially if it's able to get some of those, if it just hits things, like it just hits things super duper hard. So gotta be very cautious there. He's got a Como-O, Dragon and Fighting type Pokemon, very bulky, can be especially offensive Pokemon, could be physically offensive as well. Gets a Dragon Dance variant, which is pretty scary. He's got the Marowak, of course. Marowak being a pretty powerful Pokemon. Alolan Marowak carrying the Thick Club just hits really, really hard. He has the tendency to run it more defensively than offensively, but Thick Club Marowak is still very scary, especially being Ghost and Fire type. He's got Type Null, of course. Type Null, very, very scary Pokemon as well. This thing with the Eviolite has so much bulk and could be really challenging for our team to handle. And he's got the Acelgor, of course. Acelgor being a bug type with very, very high speed stat. Again, can set up hazards through spikes and things like that. So those are some things that we do have to be pretty cautious of and just make sure we're making the right decisions in the right places as we kind of go throughout the match here. So let's take a look at kind of our match and what we're bringing, why we're bringing it, so on and so forth. The first Pokemon I'm going to be bringing this week is going to be, let's see here, it is going to be our Infernape here. Rafiki picking up 4 kills last week. Jolly Iron Fist, Expert Built, Flare Blitz, Mach Punch, Thunder Punch, Earthquake. So we're boosting up our punches here with that Thunder Punch. I don't have close combat here, and I'm a little torn right now, and I may make a game time decision between Mach Punch and close combat. But the reason why I have Mach Punch is because I expect that Sharpedo to potentially be carrying Aqua Jet, because Aqua Jet allows him to hit things like Ninetales and things like, Scarf Crook and Infernape and stuff like that with priority. So I'm thinking that Mach Punch is going to be more useful there, and it just helps me handle that Sharpedo a little bit better. It also helps against things like Scarf Mamoswine and stuff like that. Obviously, the power from close combat would be very much utilized and useful, but that Expert Belt does help us with Flare Blitz against Mamoswine. He could try to be cheeky and run Snow Cloak, but either way, the E-Bell powers up things like Thunder Punch against Mantine. Earthquake obviously hitting things like Marowak very hard, and while we don't have the raw power of close combat, I think we have the coverage moves we need here. Flare Blitz puts in a lot of work, and if we can get up our Stealth Rocks, we can really, really weaken his team down and use Rafiki the way we've been using it most of this season, of course, being our kill leader thus far, just being a super duper, impactful Pokemon. And we've got enough speed on there to make sure we outspeed Sharpedo, a full attack investment. And again, the E-Belt there, partially to secure some kills, get a little extra damage on some of the stuff we're hitting super effectively, but also to bluff the Choice Scarf. I love doing that. So we've been really working with that a lot this season. The next Pokemon is some secret shenanigans here. Steve the Krookodile, Iron Tail, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, knockoff. Enough speed on this thing to outspeed Mamoswine and Como-O. Basically, the Steelium Z Corkscrew Crash with Iron Tail is going to one-shot Mamoswine. It's going to knock out the Sylveon after a little bit of chip damage with knockoff. So that makes me knock out those two Pokemon. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to deal with them as easily. So if he thinks he's going to be cheeky and, you know, switch Sylveon into a knockoff and then I bop it with an Iron Tail, that could be really, really crucial. Otherwise, knockoff is just nice. Stealth Rock to kind of chip away his team, especially if I see him bringing Marowak and bringing Mantine. It might be a good idea to set those Stealth Rocks. And otherwise, knockoff is just really good. Earthquake to hit a couple other things. You know, Intimidate could be useful as well, especially if he sets up with something like the Como-O. This does serve as an okay switch into an offensive Marowak. Obviously, Marowak, very, very scary Pokemon. But I can switch into it one time with Steve, take the hit, and I can threaten out the Marowak with an Earthquake. I can threaten it out with a knockoff or something like that. So that kind of works there. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing is going to be our Alolan Ninetales Emma Frost, bringing the Icy Rock this week. So we got a little bit of an emphasis on Hail, and you can kind of see where we're headed with this. We are bringing the Hail, baby, and that's going to give us 8 turns of Hail. We've got Moonblast, Dark Pulse, Freeze Dry, and Aurora Veil. Obviously, Moonblast hits a good amount of stuff. Freeze Dry hits the Mantine super effectively. Dark Pulse is there so we don't get walled by Marowak, and so we can actually do some damage to Bronzong. Not that I really want to stay in on Bronzong anyway, but we can catch that Marowak off guard and do a decent amount of damage. Otherwise, it would be a pretty free switch in. But realistically, we can set up that Aurora Veil and hopefully get an opportunity to get into one of our sweepers, specifically Sand Slash, which you'll see here shortly, and hopefully set up for a sweep. And that's kind of what I'm planning to do here. Looking at the last few weeks of the season, I really want to try to utilize some of the pieces of the team that we haven't used very much, especially heading into playoffs, because I want my opponents to realize, hey, I got 11 Pokemon on this team, and I'm not afraid to use any of them, so you better make sure you prep for all of them, because, you know, we could bust out anything at any point in time. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Barbaracle last week. Obviously, my objective is to build the team that I think is best, but at the end of the day, I do want to try to utilize some of these other tools and get a little bit more comfortable with them before we head towards playoffs. So while I am taking these matches incredibly serious, this is my opportunity to kind of experiment a little bit and test the waters with some of these other Pokemon. So Ninetales otherwise pretty much running, you know, almost max speed, enough to outspeed the Sharpedo. Obviously, we can hit that thing with a Freeze Dry or a Moonblast. And just generally, the main focus of Emma Frost this week is to get up, you know, the Hail, 8 turns of Hail, set up that Aurora Veil, give an opportunity for my team to kind of thrive a little bit under that double, you know, those double screens essentially, and hopefully, you know, set up with some other Pokemon. Now, the next Pokemon is going to be very crucial this week. It is our Vaporeon. Vaporeon running pretty much, yeah, just max defense, max HP. This thing is really here because I need to switch into Mamo, I need to switch into Sharpedo, I need to switch into Marowak. Those Pokemon are so scary to my team, even like Como-O, and you can see I have the Ice Beam on there, and really my focus was I wanted to make sure that my team would not be set up fodder for Dragon Dance and Como-O, so everything on my team can at least hit Como-O with some good damage there, except for maybe Krookodile. But Scald, Protect, Wish, Ice Beam, obviously being able to heal itself up, Leftovers recovery is really important. I can take hits from Mamo unless he's like Adamant Life Orb. We can take some hits from Sylveon, not exactly the best, but we can switch in. Obviously, we have Water Absorb, and so does Mantine. We have to be careful about him going for a Toxic or something like that, but nevertheless, we should be able to switch into those Pokemon. So our little Vaporeon here should be able to hold it down, but this thing is really designed to take on some of those big offensive threats, like the Sharpedo, like the Marowak, like the Mamoswine, and potentially the Como as well. We are going Hail, like I said. We are bringing Whiteout, baby. The Sand Slash making its return. Adamant, Slush Rush, Life Orb, Icicle Crash, Iron Head, Shadow Claw, and Swords Dance. Swords Dance, of course, boosting our attack to just insane levels. We've got enough speed on this thing to ensure that we're going to be outspeeding, I believe, like Electrode after, like in the Hail and stuff like that. So we outspeed his entire team, and we one-shot so much of it. That Life Orb just really gives so much extra damage output. Swords Dance is there. If I have an Aurora Veil up, I can click that Swords Dance, baby, and we are going to town. Shadow Claw really serves as a great coverage move to hit the Marowak and the Bronzong, so I don't have to run Earthquake. I can run Shadow Claw to hit those two. The only thing we really don't hit with this coverage here, we pretty much hit everything really well. We two-shot the Mantine after an SD for sure, but the only thing that we're really not hitting well is the Sharpedo, but Sharpedo is incredibly frail anyway, so I could just Iron Head it a few times with Swords Dance up. After some chip damage, we knocked that thing out anyway, so I really didn't think that that was super duper necessary. But objective, get that Hail up, man, and put in some work here with Whiteout, so that's what we're going to be trying to do. And last but not least is our Goodra here. I pretty much had to bring Goodra because I was so much fearing Electrode and a Selgor from the special side of things. Those Pokemon are very, very big special threats, And even though I can't really handle the Sylveon very well, I can take on the special hits from those Pokemon, and the Sap Sipper allows us to take on Serena a little bit better if it's not running Play Rough. He would have to speed invest on Serena though, because Goodra is naturally faster, and I have 52 speed EVs in this thing to ensure that we're going to outspeed any variant of Marowak aside from a Choice Scarf variant. So we've got the Dragon Pulse, Sludge Bomb, Fire Blast, and Thunderbolt. Obvious coverage there. Sludge Bomb for Sylveon, Fire Blast, Dragon Pulse for Mamo, Fire Blast for Serena, Thunderbolt for, Mantine. We can Fire Blast the Bronzong, and so on and so forth. So pretty obvious coverage there. Dragon Pulse for Marowak, and like I said, we guarantee to outspeed that thing. So that's our general team there. Kind of, I think our dedicated lead is most likely to be the Krookodile, because if he tries to lead Mamo, I can Corkscrew Crash it. If he tries to lead, like, Bronzong, I can force the knockoff into the Sylveon and then Corkscrew Crash. So I'm really thinking that Krookodile matches up as a pretty good lead, unless I see a Selgor. If I see that he brings a Selgor, I probably lead Goodra. If I'm not like, if I'm being totally honest, because then we can Fire Blast into the Bronzong if he leads that. It really depends. Like, it's just tricky because the Selgor makes this matchup a little weird. But I expect the Sylveon, I expect the Mamo, I expect the Marowak and the Sharpedo. Those four seem pretty likely. I'm expecting Bronzong, and then I think he might go Mantine Serena. He may go a Selgor. I don't really know what he's going to be thinking, but that's kind of the gist of what I'm thinking. And I think we have a pretty core plan. And Infernape really can wreck his team if I, chip him down a little bit. I just hope I don't regret the close combat Mach Punch thing. Like, close combat obviously looks really, really good, but I don't want to end up in a situation where I don't have anything to switch in that Sharpedo, and it's able to just kind of destroy my team, and that Mach Punch would have come in clutch. I like having the priority, just in case, it helps against Mamoswine too, in case he scarfs that thing, which otherwise would outspeed my entire team and really put in some work if Vaporeon goes down. So it's kind of tricky, but I really want the other coverage moves on Infernape, so it kind of got the 4 move slot syndrome, but that's not a bad problem to have in this one. So that's gonna be our squad, guys. That's what we're rocking with. I feel pretty good about this team. I'm excited to bring the Hail and trust in Whiteout here. This is its big test. This is its big opportunity. It's gonna have 8 turns of Hail and hopefully a couple turns of Aurora Veil to get up an SD and potentially sweep. I think if I make the right plays, we make some good predictions early on, we can definitely make that happen. I decided not to bring Necrozma. Might be a little surprising, but Necrozma just gets bopped. It can't really match up against a lot of things like Spec Sylveon and offensive Mamo. Those really kind of whip it down, and I just couldn't find the right moveset for it to have it be effective this week, with Marowak sitting there and Sharpedo being able to really kind of rip through it with Crunch. So I had to be a little bit cautious there, but I think he's gonna prep a lot for Necrozma. And that could fall into my kind of strength, in the fact that, like, maybe he doesn't bring Como-O. Maybe he has to bring, Marowak, Sharpedo, and things like that to really handle the Necrozma, and I don't even bring it. So kind of trying to mix it up a little bit, Like I said, we brought Necrozma pretty much every game except for last week, and now we're not bringing it this week. So, kind of mixing up the game plan a little bit here as we head down the stretch and hopefully picking up these last 2 wins. So that's going to be that, guys. Enjoy the match tomorrow. It should be a good one. And hit that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. My name is Dan, I'm the coach of your Minnesota Vikavolts, and I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.